Hi, my name is Jane Haig, and today I introduce Corey Green, and we're going to be talking about Elizabeth. Who's a very important personage when it comes to Advent. Corey, first of all, tell us who you are, how long you've been here, and whatever.
Alrighty, let me introduce. I'm Corey Green. I have been coming with my family to St. Margaret's for 6 to 9 months, kind of late spring, early summer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually going to be our first Christmas season here at St. Margaret's. I'm excited about that. I am mom of 3, Elizabeth, so it's kind of cool that I got Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my oldest daughter. She's 4.5, and I have a son, Grayson, who's 2.5. And my youngest daughter is Caroline. She's 1. I'm married to Zach, which is kind of funny because Elizabeth in this story was wife of Zachariah.
There you go.
Which is kind of
amazing.
Funny. We live up in Severna Park. Right now I'm just, I'm at home taking care of the kids. Not just at home taking care of the kids, but I'm at home taking care of the kids. Before that, I did a couple of things. I was a 2nd grade teacher for Annapolis schools, and then got my master's degree in counseling, and I was a school counselor right at Windsor Farm Elementary.
Really?
Yeah, right up the road from here. So, until I had Elizabeth, and hopefully one day I'll get back into that because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So today we're talking about
Elizabeth,
the mother of John the Baptist.
Mother of John the Baptist, wife of Zachariah.
Yeah.
She was also the cousin of Mary, which we'll get into in a few minutes once I get into that part of the story. So she and her husband were of older age. She was past childbearing age, and she and her husband had been barren their whole lives. They were very hard workers, and I guess Zachariah was chosen to burn incense in a temple, and this was kind of a position of honor. And as he was carrying out that task, he was approached by a holy messenger from God named Gabriel. So I think this story differs in some of the other barren women who were approached, because the women themselves, like I know we just talked about Samson's mother, and then later on we'll talk about Mary, but those women themselves were approached by an angel from God or a messenger from God, whereas in Elizabeth's story, her husband was approached.
I hadn't thought about that.
By Gabriel. So I think that kind of makes her story a little bit different. So this messenger Gabriel came to Zachariah and told him that Elizabeth would be having a child, and this child would be holy. And he specifically said that the child's name would be John. And Zachariah kind of doubted a little bit and didn't believe it, because I think that's kind of a normal reaction to say, okay, we're past childbearing age, my wife is going to have this baby all of a sudden when we wanted a baby for a very long time. So when he doubted, God or Gabriel took his voice away. They made him mute. I can't remember. They said, I guess, was that so he wouldn't spread the doubt, or it was just a lesson they were teaching him, that he would no longer have a voice until after the child was born.
So then Zachariah emerges out of this holiest of holy areas that is full of incense and smoke and can't say a word. And so nobody knows what's going on, including Elizabeth.
But he somehow communicates to her. So her husband tells her that he's been approached by Gabriel, the messenger from God, and communicates to her, though he's mute, that she is going to have a child, and that the child will be named John. Not sure how he communicates it to her, but he gets the message across. She herself kind of takes the opposite approach of Zachariah and is just joyful and so happy and doesn't doubt it or question it once.
Isn't that amazing? Gabriel was very busy at this time, because then Gabriel goes back and visits with Mary. And Mary says, really? I'm going to have a baby? Mary's, 14? So it's an interesting thing that Elizabeth accepts it totally. Maybe the situation is a little different between Mary and Elizabeth.
Well, just their age, but
Their age and the fact that Elizabeth was married and
that
Mary wasn't.
they're taking their age into consideration. You would think Mary's situation would be more believable than Elizabeth's situation, but she was the one who
Yeah.
took it
No.
literally from the beginning.
Right. And then she gets pregnant, and well, the rules were from Gabriel to Zechariah about the baby. That not only was the baby going to be known as John, which is not a family name, but also that it would be a holy child. So there were terms and conditions of Elizabeth's pregnancy. The child would be dedicated. Back then, I mean, the dedication of the child in womb meant that Elizabeth couldn't drink alcohol. Well, now we're discovering that's probably a good thing. But back then, I guess it was.
What they drank.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you couldn't drink the water, so let's have some wine.
Yeah.
So what did you?
She also, I thought, which was kind of cool, since she's the cousin of Mary, she was visited by Mary, and I think they lived together, it said, for like 3 months when they were both pregnant, kind of just powwowing and getting through their pregnancy together.
Yeah, that must have been, because they married,
but she must have been
she was.
ahead of Mary, so they weren't pregnant together?
They were, but I think there was 3 months over.
3 months over, okay, because John, okay, that makes sense. So I guess I took away from what I took away in my faith and in my religion from Elizabeth's story is something to strive for. I think as a Christian, that's one of the hardest parts for me, is that 100% trust in God's plan. And I don't think that's uncommon, but I think everybody along the way in life questions what is the plan here? What direction are we taking? And I think that we have, or I myself have the desire to 100% trust, but she truly, even when it was something totally unbelievable, 100% trusted and didn't question and didn't doubt and didn't waver. I think as a parent, she was just, from what I took away from the reading, such a joyful person, and her faith and her belief filled her heart with such happiness. And I think that that's one of the things that I value so much about the gift that I've been given of having a faith in my heart, and that I hope that I can just set an example of putting that into my children's heart. It's just because it can give you such joy and such happiness and such peace. But it's hard to not question. And I think she truly set the example 100% of the time, or at least from what I read. Obviously, I don't know her whole life, but she set the example well.
She did.
Of what a wonderful, happy, joyful situation you can have through your faith.
And metaphorically, you have that whole thing about God is giving you something and you have to wait for it to be birthed and to come to fruition, and trust and joy, even though you have no idea. Well, in her case, she knew she was going to have a child, but there's a lot of mystery in all of that. I mean, I'm just thinking about you having 3 children in 4.5 years. I mean, there is a lot of wow. And the fact that you're right, Elizabeth said, "Oh, okay, fine."
It's like she didn't even blink.
No, we'll name him John, and thank heavens Zechariah got his voice back.
Well, I think they did say that in the story, that when they took him for his circumcision, and she said, "We're not naming him after the family, we're going to name him John," that they didn't believe her at first, and somehow Zechariah had to communicate that.
Yeah, of course they didn't believe her, that the child would be known
And they had
as.
to wait for her husband to
Yeah.
verify, but
Yeah.
not unusual.
No. I'm glad Elizabeth has a name for herself instead of just being known as John the Baptist's mother.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Happy, joyful story.
yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you,
much.
guys.
This has been wonderful. Thanks.